Tonight on the Black Channel, remember, we don't have money for reparations. We need a vote, we need a study, we need a committee, but there simply isn't money for our reparations. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel. And I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, folks, remember, we don't have money for reparations. That's the part I need you to understand. I need you to accept that part. I need you to understand that part, so that when other people attempt to talk sense to us and remind us and tell us about what we can't have, that we understand why it is we cannot have that. Other folks giving you unrealistic, money doesn't grow on trees. Oh, look, it would bankrupt the country. You need to understand that it would bankrupt the country. You can't just jump up and tell the government to cut you a check for $100 billion. It don't work that way. You can't just expect them to just hop up out of nowhere while we have to have rigorous debate and plebiscites and committees convened. Don't you understand? That's the way that has to work. You can't just jump up out of nowhere and here we go. So for those of you who may have been living under a rock, Jim Crow Joe Biden came out and was telling everyone that we need to support his newest. We say newest because, boy, I'm telling you, this fella here, boy, he's out there, but he sure as hell looks like he doesn't know where the hell he is. But he didn't know what to ask for. So for those of you who may have missed it there in the Middle East, the Palestinians and the Israelis are at it again. So the Palestinians are showing the world that everybody ain't like black folk have been in America. They're showing the world that part. They're showing the world that not everybody's just going to sit back and negotiate and take an integration bill. There's some folks out there who are like, yeah, we're doing something different. We're doing something different. So Jim Crow Joe Biden decided this week that in light of that, something's got to be done. So now he took to the airwaves to tell the American people that billions of dollars for Ukraine is no longer enough. We now got to have billions of dollars for other people too.
I know these conflicts can seem far away, and it's natural to ask, why does this matter to America? So let me share with you why making sure Israel and Ukraine succeed is vital for America's national security. You know, history has taught us that when terrorists don't pay a price for their terror, when dictators don't pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos and death and more destruction. They keep going, and the cost and the threats to America and the world keep rising. So if we don't stop Putin's appetite for power and control in Ukraine, he won't limit himself just to Ukraine. Putin's already threatened to remind Poland that their Western land was a gift from Russia. One of his top advisors, a former president of Russia, has called Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania Russia's Baltic provinces.
Okay. Let me go ahead and address that real quickly. For those of you who know your history, if you even understand, if you even understand about the map, that's the first thing. If you even understand about the map and how that's laid out, there's a reason why Russia would be saying things like that. There's a reason why Russia would be saying things like that. Because that means something to them there, because they have a history of that. That's the whole thing you need to understand. They have a history of that. Not just out of nowhere. They have a history of that. Let me go ahead and show you something real quickly here, which hopefully this will go ahead and help clarify that for you here. And I don't want everything to become a geography study or anything like that. I don't want that necessarily to happen. But there is something in particular I do want you all to understand and see here. Okay, if this thing stops jumping up and making a mess over here, waiting for this thing to stop playing around. So that folks understand exactly what that is, I want you to see what it is on the map so you can see it for yourselves. I want you to see it on the map for yourselves. Well, who should you listen to in this regard? This is a map. For those of you whose schools have not served you very well because Ron DeSantis is worried about, the 3 R's, reading, writing, and woke. This is a map showing you where Russia is, showing you where Ukraine is, and showing you where Poland is. Now, if you don't know about the World War I and World War II, Poland was basically the bridge that brought in the Germans and all the other folks who don't like them. Poland is where they came in from. Poland was what they used. That's why Poland has always been in dispute and has always been a bone of contention. Of course, Russia wants to control Poland because the last 2 world wars, that was where they were made vulnerable from. So when you hear them keep bringing it up, it's like, yeah, by the way, about Poland there, you look on the other side of Poland, oh boy, there's Nazi Germany. So when Jim Crow Joe Biden tries to tell you about they want to claim Poland and they don't want folks coming across there anymore. Yeah, we don't want that happening. Just thought I would clear it up for you.
Won't limit himself just to Ukraine. Putin's already threatened to remind Poland that their Western land was a gift from Russia. One of his top advisors, a former president of Russia, has called Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania Russia's Baltic provinces. These are all NATO allies. For 75 years, NATO has kept peace in Europe and has been the cornerstone of American security.
Okay. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. Folks, take a look at the map here. So he's saying that these are U.S. allies, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. So in other words, Russia is surrounded by NATO allies. Not NATO allies 1,000 miles away, NATO allies on the other side of the street. So I wanted you all to take a look at the map. So when you hear Jim Crow Joe Biden telling you this history story and naming these places, I just wanted to show you, by the way, that's where the Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, that's where they are. There's Russia right here, and right across the street is the folks he just named. And he just said, what, we've been keeping peace over there. You mean with the guys who are right across the street from him? You mean with them? Yes, why would they possibly be nervous about this? Why would this possibly make them nervous? The peaceful United States that has spent the last 20 years murdering and knocking off gangster style anybody and everybody they don't like in the Middle East, in Africa, in South America, in Southern Asia. The United States has been regime changing now since the end of World War II. And Russia's like, we'll be damned. We are one assassination away from America controlling us. One assassination. That's it. So I hope I'm clearing it up for you as he's naming these places, just to let you know exactly what you're looking at.
One of his top advisors, a former president of Russia, has called Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania Russia's Baltic provinces. These are all NATO allies. For 75 years, NATO has kept peace in Europe and has been the cornerstone of American security. And if Putin attacks a NATO ally, we will defend every inch of NATO which the treaty requires and calls for. We'll have something that we do not seek. Make it clear, we do not seek. We do not seek to have American troops fighting in Russia or fighting against Russia.
Which means they seek to have American troops fighting in Russia and fighting against Russia, which if you take a look in Ukraine, if you know what's been happening over there, you've already got American soldiers who have been helping in Ukraine, by the way. So, yeah. So, Jim Crow Joe, yeah.
Beyond Europe, we know that our allies and maybe most importantly our adversaries and competitors are watching. They're watching our response in Ukraine as well. And if we walk away and let Putin erase Ukraine's independence, would-be aggressors around the world would be emboldened to try the same. The risk of conflict and chaos could spread in other parts of the world, in the Indo-Pacific, in the Middle East, especially in the Middle East.
Yes, because America has done such a great job of maintaining peace in the Middle East, right? Yes, because America is the reason that the Middle East is the nice, quiet suburb that it is of the world today. Why, before America came along, it was nonstop anarchy, noise, and chaos. But ever since then, in nice little places like Iraq, Syria, Libya, Egypt, Oman, America has kept things nice and quiet over there, hasn't it? Yes, sir. Absolutely. Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, Mubarak. America is the reason that Africa is the nice, quiet place it is today. Gotta be Jim Crow Joe, who was there for most of this, to cause most of it. Why, he says so.
Ukraine's independence. Would-be aggressors around the world would be emboldened to try the same. The risk of conflict and chaos could spread in other parts of the world, in the Indo-Pacific, in the Middle East, especially in the Middle East. Iran is supporting Russia in Ukraine, and is supporting Hamas and other terrorist groups in the region, and will continue to hold them accountable, I might add. The United States and our partners across the region are working to build a better future for the Middle East. One where the Middle East is more stable, better connected to its neighbors, and through innovative projects like the India-Middle East-Europe Rail Corridor that I announced this year at the summit of the world's biggest economies. More predictable markets, more employment, less rage.
Predictable markets. Well, so in other words, we're opening them up for trade and control by corporations, because of course that's how we control people. Yeah. Because the United States has made the Middle East more stable, right? Yeah, take a look at all that stability between Israel and Palestine right now, as a matter of fact. Yeah, the United States is the United States is the model of creating peace in the Middle East, of course. Absolutely.
Better future for the Middle East. One where the Middle East is more stable, better connected to its neighbors, and through innovative projects like the India-Middle East-Europe Rail Corridor that I announced this year at the summit of the world's biggest economies.
Better connected to its neighbors. Did the Middle East ask to be better connected to their neighbors? See, this sounds like when white folk went into Japan with Captain Perry and the black ships. We're going to make you more connected to the rest of the world. That's the sound of them crack popping their knuckles. Yeah, we're going to make you better connected to the rest of the world. Open up that damn door so we can get you connected. Yeah. You didn't know you wanted to be connected. Now you do. So in other words, United States gangsterism is on the march. Oh, trust me, we're opening them up to free trade for their own good. For their own good.
More predictable markets, more employment, less rage, less grievances, less war when connected.
More predictable markets. Do the folks in the Middle East control these markets, or do white corporations in America and Britain control these markets?
It benefits the people who would benefit the people of the Middle East and would benefit us. American leadership is what holds the world together.
You notice he didn't say how it would benefit. It benefit the people of the Middle East, and it benefits us. It benefits the people of the Middle East how? Didn't say what that was. And if it was going to benefit them, why aren't they seeing it to it themselves?
Together. American alliance. It benefits the people who would benefit the people of the Middle East and would benefit us. American leadership is what holds the world together. American alliances are what keep us, America, safe. American values are what make us a partner that other nations want to work with. To put all that at risk, if we walk away from Ukraine, if we turn our backs on Israel, it's just not worth it. That's why tomorrow I'm going to send to Congress an urgent budget request to fund America's national security needs, to support our critical partners, including Israel and Ukraine. Is a smart investment that's going to pay dividends for American security for generations. Help us keep American troops out of harm's way. Help us build a world that is safer, more peaceful, more prosperous for our children and grandchildren. In Israel, we must make sure that they have what they need to protect their people today and always.
Okay. Have what they need. So, yeah, we're going to make sure about that. We are going to make sure about that because, of course, that's the most important thing you can have here. All right. The New York Times. New York Times has details. And you know, of course, we're very, very good about the details. The New York Times is offering up details about exactly what it is that Biden is asking for here. In particular, they're bringing that to the forefront because we wouldn't want you to miss out now, would we? So Biden is asking for $106 billion. $106 billion. And you don't need time to think this over. We're going to go ahead and jump right into that. Let's show you exactly what they're looking for here. This is from the New York Times. Details of Biden's $105 billion funding request for Israel and Ukraine. The package also includes money for border security, humanitarian aid, and Taiwan. Remember, there is no money for reparations. I need you to get that clear. There's not any money for reparations. Got it? It ain't there. Stop asking. There is no money for reparations. It's too much. It would be too hard. You can't get that kind of money together. This is from Karun Demirjian. President Biden has argued that American aid for crises overseas, primarily in Ukraine and Israel, is vital to protecting U.S. national security. On Friday, he laid out the details of what he believes the United States needs to provide to its allies. Here is a look at what is in the Biden administration's $105 billion funding request. $61.4 billion for Ukraine. $61.4 billion. So, folks, as you can see, Ukraine has simply become part of the United States budget. There's no reason to ask how much we're going to give Ukraine. Ukraine is now basically an annex of the United States, and they are now part of our ongoing budget. More than half of that money, more than half the $105 billion, would go toward providing weapons and ammunition for Ukraine via defense contracts and U.S. stock. Defense contracts. So all my military people and all my military analysts out there and all my historians, well, defense contracts and U.S. stockpiles. So all those bombs and weapons that they told you that we need to use to defend ourselves, and we're actually not going to use them after all. Well, we got so many, we can just ship them off to Ukraine. We have so many weapons over here, we can ship them off to Ukraine. By the way, did you get this next sentence here? More than half the money would go towards providing weapons, which the funds would then replenish. The rest would pay for economic and operational assistance. So we're going to give them our guns. We're going to spend billions of dollars to give them defense contracts and stockpiles of our weapons. And then we're going to use the money to replenish the weapons that we're going to give them. Yeah, we got plenty to give you. We just need to take out some more money so we can go pay Raytheon and Laral Hughes and Northrop Grumman and Boeing, so we can make sure we pay them billions of dollars to restore and replenish all the weapons that we're going to give you. To replace all the weapons we're going to give you. The rest would pay for economic and operational assistance, intelligence, and military logistical support, nuclear security programs, and resettling Ukrainian refugees. Oh, $61 billion to displace black folk. Okay. 14.3 billion for Israel. Now, is this on top of the 16 billion that America gives Israel every year? So is this $14 billion on top of the 16 or so billion dollars that America gives gives Israel every year? The package would go almost entirely towards defense contracts and facilitating the transfer of weapons and ammunition to Israel from U.S. stockpiles. Well, this sounds familiar. Defense contracts and U.S. stockpiles. Defense contracts and U.S. stockpiles. Boy, so much for a peacetime president. The weapons manufacturers are going to have to be having double shifts. According to the White House, ammunition for the missile defense system known as Iron Dome and David Sling, as well as Iron Beam, Israel's ground-based laser air defense system, would be covered in the package. Congressional leaders have said the package will also include precision-guided munitions, kits that turn regular bombs into precision weapons and artillery shells. Yes, because we need to kill more efficiently. This is Joe Biden, all the benefits that we're offering to the Middle East. Yes, this is making the Middle East a quieter, safer place. Don't you understand? Certainly the people of the Middle East are thrilled to hear about this. $13.6 billion for border security. The money would pay for more Border Patrol officers, immigration judges, shelters, and detention centers. It also includes more than $1 billion for battling fentanyl trafficking. You know, if you built the wall, you wouldn't have to fight all the fentanyl. But it does not include two key initiatives that Republicans want: funding to construct a border wall and changes to the way migrants seeking asylum are allowed into the country. $13 billion to have an orderly progression of illegal aliens is what this is about. Shelters and detention centers. Those shelters in Chicago and Atlanta and DC and New York. $13 billion to build shelters for illegal aliens. So Eric Adams and the mayor and governor of New York, Hochul, $13 billion to build shelters and detention centers for the illegals. So they're going to tell you that this is for Israel. And by the way, we're going to sneak in almost as much money as they want to give Israel. We're going to sneak this in, $13 billion for illegals. Next, $9.15 billion for humanitarian aid. The money includes assistance for Palestinian, Israeli, and Ukrainian civilians who have felt the impact of the fighting. The White House did not say how much assistance each group could expect to receive. So let's get this straight. Israel's going to get $14 billion and humanitarian assistance. So we have, take a look at this, man. Take a look at this. Over $76 billion for weapons. Over $76 billion for weapons, guns, instruments of war and killing and death. $76 billion for weapons, $9 billion for humanitarian aid. Is this not the devil? Are you going to tell me that this is not the devil? That this is not Beelzebub himself? You tell me. $7.4 billion for Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific, because we don't just need to go face off with Russia, we need to face off with Russia and China, don't you know? We need to do both of those. The funds, which include military financing for Taiwan, are meant to help counter the rising influence of China in the region. Over $3 billion would go toward financing U.S. submarine construction, while an additional $2 billion would be for development assistance. Another $2 billion is for foreign military financing, though it's not clear if that money is exclusively for Taiwan or if it will be shared with other countries in the region. Folks, humanitarian aid. The White House did not say how much assistance each group could expect to receive. Taiwan and Indo-Pacific money. It's not clear if Taiwan would get all the money, or if they'll divide it up among other groups. It's not clear. By the way, go ahead and drop them dollars. And remember, there isn't any money for reparations. There's not. And all you people who keep talking about that, you're not serious, you're not real, you're not sensible, you don't get it, you never have. There isn't any money for reparations. We don't have it. We don't have it. During COVID, we don't have it. Trillions we can jump off of in a day. Other than that, we don't have it. We don't have it. No, we're sending your reparations to Israel. That's where our reparations are going. We don't have money for reparations. We didn't cut the check for you, but we're looking at cutting the check for everybody else. We're going to cut the check for all of them. Some of these other folks out here, Cornel West had a few words to say. He thinks he's running for president.
We need strong American leadership. Upon hearing the speech of President Biden yesterday, it was sad. It was disappointing. It was pathetic. At the very moment where we need to talk about ceasefire, we don't hear the word. At the very moment when we need to talk about diplomatic procedures for just peace, we see more a declaration of war. We find over $100 billion for war. Oh, we can't find that when it comes to health care, when it comes to jobs with a living wage, when it comes to housing, when it comes to quality living of everyday people. We find it when it comes to war. Thank God we have fellow citizens like Jewish Voices for Peace, like Palestinian Voices, Arab Voices, Black Voices, Latino Voices that stand for principle, that stand against war and war making. Even Judge Paul on the inside resigns because he sees more war. Even Sister Cori Bush, even Sister Rashida Tlaib within the Democratic Party echo the deep concerns that I have. I believe, and I've said over and over again, and I'll say it till the day I die, that a precious Palestinian baby has the same value as a precious Israeli baby, and a precious Israeli baby has the same value as a precious Palestinian baby. And when you look at the world through those lenses, it leads toward an indictment of what President Biden is talking about, an indictment of his policies that don't take seriously the equal status and equal dignity of Palestinians and Israelis. There will never be peace for precious Israelis without justice for precious Palestinians. That is the bottom line. We cannot live in denial any longer. So let us look for better vision, grander courage, and most importantly, American leadership that can bring us together based on principles rooted in the empowerment of poor and working people, rooted in the empowerment of the least of these. Yes, that's what grand American leadership is all about.
So Dr. Cornel West has weighed in. Dr. Cornel West has weighed in here, and certainly he's been very, very critical of that. He's been very, very critical of what he's heard there. And not a word about white supremacy, nothing like that. All right, perfectly fine. We'll just go ahead and skip by that one, right? We'll just go ahead and skip by that one. But I do got to tell you here, folks, just understand you can't nibble around the edges on this. You can't nibble around the edges here, because if you don't have a clear message, that can be difficult. But I will say one thing, Dr. West talking like this is going to have a lot of Democrats and folks worried. Going to have a lot of those folks worried, because then they're going to be asking, well, hell, are we going to make it? Usually you would need to have a good number of people repeating the same talking points, and this time you don't have it. This time it's not there. You don't have it this time like you used to have it. Every time you turn around, these people are not able to get that. Every time you turn around now, it's you don't have that united front for that. Not anymore. You don't. So after what happened in Louisiana and the governor's race, and now this and whatnot, you're not going to get rubber stamped anymore. That's the part that's missing, is you're not going to get rubber stamped anymore. Things are different now. They are very much different now. And while Dr. West may not necessarily speak on the whole side of things, I just want you all to be aware that, by the way, they're all sounding like us going forward here, and folks are not as worried and scared as they used to be. That's not what's happening. I want to go a little bit further into this. I want to go a little bit deeper into this. But before I do, let me go ahead and take a very brief non-commercial break. I know we didn't get to broadcast as regular as I would have liked to have done here, but I'm glad to go ahead and be back with you all. So that's important for me. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Venmo, and of course, Super Chat. Like I say, we've had some going around and around, but YouTube here, we've gotten remonetized here on the Black Channel. So Not that I necessarily needed to have that, but it was important to go ahead for those of you who want to use that. Remember, they do keep 1/3 of all the money that you give there. So please avail yourselves to Cash App or PayPal if you are so inclined. But thank you very much to Leon. The government has everybody's money in the world except Black Americans. Absolutely true. Kid Gravity Beyond. Nancy King, thank you very much for your support here as well. Thank you very much for supporting New Black Media. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When I come back, they're giving our reparations money to Ukraine and Israel, but somebody else might have a different idea about that. You'll see what I mean. This is The Black Channel.
Hello, my name is Steve Burgess. I'm the author of this book, Guidelines for the Successful Student, a closer look at parenting your school-aged child. In this book, I've explained the role of the parent and the student in addition to what accommodations, procedures, rewards and consequences and expectations that need to be in place to ensure student success from primary to high school. This book is available on Amazon.com. For more information, please visit my link tree at Easy One-on-One. And to access my latest podcast, A Teaching Moment with Mr. B. Thank you all for listening.
A white supremacist assassin seeks revenge. Corrupt FBI agents with evil intentions. Dangerous black collaborators dedicated to treason. Occam Jeffers must defeat them all and somehow survive. One misstep and he's a dead man. Join Occam Jeffers as he looks the devil in his blue eyes and tells him, Black first. A sequel to the underground hit War of the Heart, Spirit of 1811 Publishing presents God Love Us, on sale at Amazon. Pre-order and save today. Visit spiritOf1811publishing.com and show your love.
More Threads. A brand owned by a descendant of Black American freedmen was created to uniquely address Black American history and contributions that have been intentionally hidden and suppressed. Use their apparel and more to learn and share the Black American history of Black inventions, heroes, towns, Black business districts, and more. Sign up and support not only a Black-owned business, but a movement at www.morethread.co.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' natural body butter with skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. I want to go a little bit deeper into this because, there are a lot of folks out there who are giving support to one or both sides here, between the Israelis and the Palestinians. If you haven't been in New York City, man, they've been out in the streets, literally in the tens of thousands. So, folks, this is no little thing. I mean, they've had traffic snarled. I want to say in London, there's been 100,000 of them in the streets. This is a big, big, big deal here. Folks are choosing sides. Folks are squadding up. Folks are taking to the streets. Folks are declaring who they support and who their allegiances are to. And, over there in the Bronx. Mr. Richie Torres. Mr. Richie Torres has gone to Twitter to say that he's not happy What is Mr. Torres unhappy about? Looks like a wonderful Afro-Latino here. Anti-Israel extremists, largely pretending to be from the Bronx, are planning a protest, falsely accusing me of being wanted for genocide. If you're not from the Bronx, what are you worried about? I had a tough upbringing in the projects in the Bronx. We know he had a tough upbringing because take a look at his bio on Twitter. Born and bred in the Bronx, grew up in poverty, product of public housing. So his communications people just told him, look, every time somebody looks at you, remind them you from the projects. I had a tough upbringing in the projects in the Bronx. I don't scare easily. I won't shy away from fighting for my Jewish constituents who feel threatened by the deadliest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. The extremists can't and won't intimidate me with their crazed lies and blood libels. I am fearless. Okay? And here's my thing, folks, you got to be concerned about these kind of things. New York is a place where we got to be careful about that because you have a group of folks there, especially those who are from a non-FBA lineage. And they're black when convenient, and they stand up and speak up real loud for other folk, but when black folk need something, they get real quiet. So they want to play this game where they identify when convenient. We don't get to identify when convenient. First of all, we don't want to, but second of all, we don't get to do that. So I don't know who Congressman Richie Torres is. I don't know who he is. I've heard about him before, but boy, he wants you all to know that he is here for his Jewish constituents, and of course he should be. Of course he should be there for his constituents. I would just like to see some consistency, I think. All right, Mr. Torres says that by falsely accusing me of genocide, these anti-Israel extremists are inciting violence against me and putting the safety of my staff and me at risk. My man, Ajamu Baraka, jumped in here and said, Richie, if you were so tough, you wouldn't allow racist Zionists to pimp you, and you wouldn't have a name like Richie. So Ajamu Baraka has weighed in. I found that to be interesting. It's very, very interesting in this regard. You see, when it comes to us, nobody jumps up. None of you so-called black politicians or black adjacent politicians. None of these people here who are black when convenient, and they're Latino when convenient, and they're black when convenient. Kamala Harris, she's Asian when convenient. Well, she's Asian, but she's black when convenient. And this idea, I want folks to keep track of this kind of stuff here, because people who want to infer or claim being black only when they want to try to influence us and coerce us. I just find all that very interesting. Very, very interesting. I also find something else to be very interesting. Somebody in the chat room said that he's an Alphabet member. Well, in New York, wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised about that in New York. That would not surprise us. I mean, that's basically going to have to be a requisite, right? That would basically be a requisite for you. It would have to be. It would have to be. Mr. Torres is there. And by the way, Joe Biden wants to bring in $13 billion. I'm sure Mr. Torres and company would be very glad to see that. So, sure they'll be very glad to see that. Thank you, Mr. Torres. Okay. Well, he'll make sure that the LGBT gets theirs. LGBT and immigrants, they'll get theirs. So But there's some other folks out there who have had some other things to say because, as a matter of fact, this happened. This happened. This is from the New York Post. This is dated as of today. Minister Louis Farrakhan files $5 billion defamation suit against the Anti-Defamation League over false anti-Semitism claims. Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan, who for decades has spouted off about satanic Jews, well, the New York Post is doing its yellow journalism, who controlled the government in Hollywood and once called Hitler a great man, is claiming his venomous reputation is a false narrative pushed by the Anti-Defamation League. Farrakhan, 90 years old, peace be upon him, has filed a $4.8 billion Manhattan federal court lawsuit against the civil rights group, accusing it of interfering with his First Amendment rights by wrongly labeling him an anti-Semite. Quote, this lawsuit is to ensure that the abuse, misuse, and false use of the terms anti-Semite, anti-Semitic, and anti-Semitism as falsely charged by the ADL is permanently barred from being a tool to defame Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam and stifle the exercise of constitutional rights, he contends in court papers. Farrakhan contended he, quote, has never harmed a hair on the head of any Jewish person or even advocated for such, and boasted he, quote, honors, respects, and even admires many members of the Jewish community, including his boyhood idol and one of the greatest violinists, Jascha Heifetz, who was a Russian Jew, and his own Jewish violin teachers. He called his contentious relationship with the ADL a, quote, battle of biblical proportions, and buttressed his court filings with 787 pages of supporting documents. Man, look here. Minister Farrakhan came ready. Farrakhan has referred to Jews as termites. New York Post, stop. Allegedly, now, they've been trying to use this one for decades. They've been trying to use this one since I was a child. Somebody claims that some reporter on a plane claimed that he heard Minister Farrakhan call Judaism a gutter religion. No proof whatsoever. None whatsoever. And Minister Farrakhan famously said, I've said far more controversial things than that. If I had said that, why would I deny it? I would say it and then back it up. And proclaim, quote, the powerful Jews are my enemy. The Jews have been so bad at politics, they lost half their population in the Holocaust, he said during a 1998 speech. Jews are responsible for all this filth and degenerate behavior that Hollywood is putting out, turning men into women and women into men, he said more recently in 2018. The Anti-Defamation League is, quote, an un-American organization and has woven itself into the fabric of both the United States government in general and into local governments within America in particular to advance interests that are un-American to the extent that it tramples and trammels upon the constitutional rights of Minister Farrakhan and American citizens, he said in the lawsuit. The dispute began in 1984, according to Farrakhan, when he supported then presidential candidate Jesse Jackson after he was accused of referring to Jews as a racial slur. That's the Hymietown. It is because of Minister Farrakhan's unwavering defense of himself and Reverend Jackson that the ADL began plastering him with the false and injurious label of anti-Semite, Farrakhan said in court papers. While the ADL typically doesn't comment on litigation, director Jonathan Greenblatt, by the way, Professor Black Truth has a great video that he recently did about how the corporate media is stifling their Muslim correspondents and commentators during the present Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and that Jonathan Greenblatt has been at the forefront of that effort. So the ADL's Jonathan Greenblatt told the Post that the suit, quote, has no merit. Quote, Louis Farrakhan is an anti-Semite. One need look no further than his own words and statements to come away with the same conclusion, he said. So yeah, folks, Mr. Farrakhan has filed a $5 billion defamation lawsuit against the ADL. $5 billion with a B. So they were waiting for him to say something. Well, now he said something. They were waiting for him to say something, and now he said something. And I consider that to be significant. I consider it to be significant here because for the longest time, what the minister is definitely showing is that you have to frame your own narrative. And if that's where you stand on it, you got to say something directly to them. You got to go straight forward directly at them. So Minister Farrakhan is taking this opportunity to do that. And why not? Especially when you got the United States sitting up here giving billions of dollars. Billions. Ignoring black folk here and giving billions of dollars to everybody else in this regard. Meanwhile, they're going to expect us to come and support them. They're already seeing things are wavering. And this kind of stuff right here, this doesn't help. Cornel West, Louis Farrakhan. You're starting to see things like this. You don't have that ironclad support like you were hoping for. Now you don't have that. That's not what you got there. What are you going to do? You're not able to sit up here and call people names and get the same immediate impact that you used to get before. It's not happening that way. You're not going to get the same immediate impact that you used to get before. Those immediate results you used to get before you yank the leash and then a bunch of folks come running and jumping like you used to get before. That's not what you have happening. We are saying the same thing, and we've been saying it consistently. Cut the check. You are not going to distract us, and you're not going to tell us that there's something more important. Cut the check. We are prioritizing our issues. We're prioritizing our issues. How dare this crypt keeper looking bastard sit there in the Oval Office and tell you and me that we need to put other folks ahead of us. That's an atrocity. That's an insult. That we're going to put other folks ahead of us. That anything and everything that happens, I told you all, when folks ask me, well, Jason, what do you think they're going to do next after COVID and after the Asian hate thing, after all of those faded, what are they going to do next? Oh, they're not going to stop. They're going to tell you that anything and everything that happens needs to be put ahead of us. There's going to be a never-ending stream of crises that they're going to swear up and down we all need to fall in line for. It's not going to stop. It isn't. That's the whole point. So now they're coming up with a crisis and telling us that we need to all fall in line. That's the whole point, is that now they're supposed to yell crises and then we all fall in line. No, we're not. No, we're not. We have our agenda, and that is exactly where we're going to stay. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the blackest radio program in existence, the only one of its kind on planet Earth today. And as always, you are welcome to join us. I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat, Venmo, Mr. Richberg. Thank you very much for your support. B1 Media is a lifesaver. Bo Eldridge, Mark B, and everyone else who has contributed to support tonight's program. Thank you very much for doing so. I'm doing a nice program here as a reminder to all of you that when you take a look at the United States government, they are shameless. They are not shy at all to sit up here and proudly proclaim that they're putting everybody ahead of us. Every time you turn around, there's some new excuse, some new crisis, some new reason, some new justification. Oh, there's an issue over there. There's always issues over there, but it's amazing that your response to all these other things is always this huge response. But when it comes to us, there's whimpering at best and dead silence at worst. So they're taking money They're giving money to illegal aliens that was taken from us, the legal aliens. Now, I created that phrase going on 2 decades ago. We are the legal aliens. They're taking our money and giving it to the illegal aliens. And meanwhile, we have not been compensated, nor have we been given the protections that we are supposed to have. But there's plenty of protection for Israel and Ukraine. Now, there's plenty for them. No protection for us, plenty of protection for them. Let's go ahead and get to the telephone lines. Let me get caller from area code 415. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Denise in San Francisco.
All right, Denise in San Francisco, what's on your mind?
I'm fighting like hell not to get caught up in that Israel-Palestinian drama. I don't even see how black people can even take sides in that. I got to get my reparations. The next generation that follows me has to get their reparations. We're falling more behind, and we're slipping into genocide codes. Okay? Now, I'm tired of all these people getting here, and they want black people to get behind them on all their ideals, but they don't want to get behind black people on their ideals. And just as soon as they get a leg up, they don't remember you, how you always supposed to be together, folk together. They don't remember all that stuff. I learned that from experience, okay? So I don't want to hear all that Israel, Palestine. We need our reparations, and we need to be consistent and be ready for the long haul for it.
Well, here's my position on it. Certainly, I don't condone barbarism. I certainly don't condone that. Nobody likes to see violence, or at least most of us don't like to see violence. The United States government loves to see violence. Certainly don't condone that kind of thing. Dead children, that's always an atrocity. That's always a travesty. It always is. So I don't want us to ever lose sight of our moral compass. We should be able to see right and wrong anywhere and everywhere that we are. So I have absolutely no problem whatsoever articulating that position. And I think in context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I think it's important for us to have an idea about that. And when you ask me, do I have a position on it? I do have a position. I'm certainly not in favor of colonization. While we saw what happened to us, and I am not in favor of injustice. We've seen what's happened to us. So if I speak on these things, I'm going to speak on them in the context that puts the focus and the lens on our experience. I believe that's the best way for us to address those things. I don't condone injustice. And I'd like to start by discussing the injustice here. I don't think the United States government has any place meddling in the Middle East and talking about how it's going to help to reorganize the Middle East when you have done these exact same tactics here in America and you have not dealt with that situation. So I certainly can understand injustice. I can certainly understand standing up against injustice. And as we are here, I want us to make sure that if you are so concerned about injustice in the Middle East, then you need to start by addressing the injustice here. If you want to send the best signal that you can to the Middle East and the rest of the world that you are interested in justice, that you are interested in preserving life, that you are interested in peace, then you need to start right here with us. That's where you need to begin. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. If you want to convince the world that you're truly invested in that, you can do that by starting right here. That's what you can do. No, you don't need to send billions to Israel. You need to start right here and send that to us right here. That would send the best signal to all parties involved of exactly where your moral compass is and where you stand. It would also have the greatest effect on these other groups because remember, black people in America, particularly those of us who are the freedmen and the foundation, we are the trendsetters for the rest of the world. So you see, it is America's relentless assault on us that sends the message of conflict around the world. When black people are doing better in America, when we do that, everybody does better. The rising tide that lifts all boats starts with us. So if you truly wish to address these things, what you do with us would have the greatest effect on everybody else. We change cultures. We are the world's leaders at peaceful transformation of culture because we help cultures evolve. So the more empowered we are, we will do much, much more to bring together the Israelis and the Palestinians because we have had the greatest cultural effect. You have created a cultural society that created conflict. Everything that we do brings people together. So if you want to have the greatest peacemaking effect there, once again, I argue you start with us. You start with us. Caller from area code 860, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what up, Jason? It's me, Roland from NL, Connecticut. Checking in. I definitely want to weigh on this conversation. I don't appreciate them trying to put our people in between this war. And when I start looking in between all the wars that are going on, all these groups have Nazi ties. Palestinian has Nazi ties. Ukraine has Nazi ties. Russia has some type of Nazi ties. And Israel has some Nazi ties. And I don't think that that's not in our best interest. I also feel like if they're trying to push us onto the Palestinian side, that they're trying to radicalize our people so they can slap us with that black identity extremist label. And that's something that I'm totally not cool with. And I don't appreciate that they're trying to compare our plight with theirs. So I just want to be brief and short about that, brother.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again here. Certainly, I want to keep everything within the context of where we stand on these things. If you want to help Israel, the best way to help Israel is to help us. If you want peace in the Middle East, the best way to have peace in the Middle East is to do right by us. Shout out here to Greg Terrible in the super chat for your first one. Thank you very much for your support. Let me get caller from area code 779. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, brother. My name is Omaro. I'm calling from Hopkins Park, Illinois. I think, that the terrorist act that happened that day by Hamas, what's been going on in Israel didn't just start that day. I think I'm going to sit this out. I'm going to sit this out emotionally. I don't want to get tied up in that. I'm concerned about our plight, and I'm concerned about the plight of African black people all around the world. We ought to be watching America with them 15 army bases sitting all across Africa. They're going to use them for something. And they don't respect us at all and look at us like animals anyway. So trying to use new weapons on us and killing us, they will do that. The Democratic Party, they don't respect us to the point where they know that we want reparations. So they're gonna try to, they don't never bring it up. It's almost like the elephant in the room. And I think what the problem is that they're gonna try to play it off like it's apathy amongst the black community. It's apathy, not that we want reparations. And I'm going to sit it out, man. I've been voting ever since 1980. I voted when Reagan was inaugurated. I'm 65 years old, so I've been voting a long time Democratic. I'm voting this stuff out. I'm going to sit this out. I'm not going to vote. And,
certainly,
and I just want to say this.
Well, certainly we need to be aware of these things. We certainly want to be aware. You don't want things happening around the world and you're just blissfully ignorant of them. And I certainly do think that we need to have a position. If things are happening, especially, influential events and pertinent events, I don't think that it does us any good to just be observers. You certainly don't want to just be bystanders because events do affect you. So when things like this happen, I do believe that we need to have a position on it. And that position, in my opinion, that position is, yes, we're aware of the historical context of it. And something that's happening in the Middle East, it does affect us. I do believe that these things happen around the world because we're all on the same planet.
What about that Israeli ambassador that said the biggest threat to Israel, to Jews, is young blacks in America?
Right. That's my whole. Okay, well, slow down. Okay, slow down, brother. Take a breath. Yeah, Professor Truth has also done a video about that as well. And those are important things. That's why I say we can't just be bystanders or be observers and spectators.
Well, I didn't say be just a bystander. I said being concerned. I'm concerned about the military bases sitting over there on Africa, because I'm going to tell you why. When you see those old castles and sitting up there, those were the military bases there. And what did they use those military bases for? But to plunder Africa.
Okay, folks, we do not talk over the host. We don't do that. So the brother's gotten his E&J or whatever. Let me give him the night off. People, we don't talk over the host. That doesn't happen. So the host is letting you speak, but you can't hijack the program and you're going to talk over the host. We're not going to do that. With that being the case there, certainly, yes, we are definitely aware of some of the statements of the Israeli leadership. And for us, we can't say that we're not concerned about what happens over there, because what happens over there is clearly concerned about us. It's clearly concerned about us. So we need to have a position on these things about what should be done. We need to have a position on those things about what should be done. In the chat room, Asha Mawabi, you need to give us a call. Thank you very much. So my mods, go ahead and get his information. He can go ahead and give us a call here. Go ahead and get Asha's information so they can go ahead and give a call. Since they have so much to say here, we'll go ahead and get them to, they can go ahead and call me up directly. Caller from area code 417, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Al from Springfield, Missouri. Yes, we got, I know people don't think it's a big deal, but let me say this. Israel historically has practiced white supremacy since they got started in 1948.
Oh, and then kept it rolling through the 70s and 80s. Of course, as we all know, they sterilized Africans there. So black people, don't say Africans. They had a huge program to outright sterilize them. So, yeah, that's a little bit of a stain on the record there.
Yeah, and also two things. They supported South Africa under when South Africa was under white minority rule, and also too, nobody doesn't talk about this, but last month Al Jazeera reported that over some 3,000 black Eritreans were kicked out of Israel. They had a community right next to near the Gaza Strip, and they basically kicked them out weeks before this incident happened. So that is something that's not talked about. They don't talk about the fact that, they're kicking out the, remember Yahshua ben Israel, who was the American Black Hebrew Israelite movement. And they kicked those people out of Israel recently. In fact, some of them are moving back here to the state of Missouri and Oklahoma because of it.
Yeah, like I say, when you take a look at these things, it's down and dirty. That's for damn certain. So these are things I want folks to be aware of here, especially when I don't think it's enough. You sit back and the U.S. government is throwing billions of dollars at that. Of folks who have been, and it would be different if these activities were limited to the Middle East, but they're not. That's why Professor Truth did this video. They're actually taking action over here. They're trying to influence the politics over here, and we're in the crosshairs of that. So I don't think we can just sit back and be spectators on those things there, of course. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I don't think it does you any favors to be ignorant of that kind of thing. You might not be thinking about their politics, but their politics are thinking about you. Caller from area code 626, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Logical Facts calling from Champaign, Illinois.
Logical Facts, what's on your mind?
Hey, brother. I just wanted to call. One thing that we, as Black people, I think we need to make sure that we remember is they're giving billions there, but then they could fix all the water pipes in Flint, Michigan, for less than $3 billion. The whole water treatment facility in Jackson, Mississippi, for one. So they poisoned 10,000 children in Flint, Michigan. But yet the United States government doesn't think it's important enough to put those pipes back in. Jackson, Mississippi is a capital city of the state of Mississippi, and yet they're not doing anything there. This is the kind of thing where Black people have to ride on them because, see, this is shameful. I mean, don't get me wrong. The stuff with Israel, and by the way, I wanted to add one other thing with Israel, is that, down in South Africa, that's where they started the sterilizing of Black people. Then after 1980, they went to Israel and they continued it.
First of all, you make some excellent points there. You make some excellent points because you're absolutely correct. We got the federal government telling us what they can't do and hasn't been done in Flint, Michigan, in Jackson, in Memphis, in New Orleans. We can go down the damn list. We got weapons. Right. We got money for instantaneous money for bombs on the other side of the world. And meanwhile, not giving restorative justice, because let's be very, very clear, the things that happened in Flint, Michigan, that was engineered. Jackson, Mississippi, we talked about that before. That's engineered. You have the state capital of the state of Mississippi that the government of the state of Mississippi has basically declared benign neglect and to strangle it and wither it on the vine simply because it's majority Black. Then they come along and want to divide the place up along the districts because it's majority Black. So you have a state that has declared war on one of its own cities. And yet we got money going to the other side of the world.
Absolutely. And remember this. See, this is the thing. Primarily, we're giving money to fight their wars, but the United States is creating a war here because we're supposed to feel sympathy for these children all around the world, which we should. But guess what? We're not putting our children on TV in the United States going, look, these are children that have been dosed with lead. They will never be regular. They will never be okay. They will never be able to have jobs. We don't show Black people in the United States like that. But that's something that we need to show and then be like this. Why is it that you, Strom Biden, because he's really Strom Thurmond, who was his best friend, that's all he's doing is primarily he's going, look, you know what? We don't care. We don't care so much that we're willing to let your children die and say, guess what? Taxation without representation. Because we're taking your taxes, we're giving them to illegals, we're giving them to the Ukraine, we're giving them to any other place in the world other than the people that are here. And so, you know what? For me, like I said, and I push this and I say it again with you, Brother Jason, you're doing excellent work out here. You, Tariq, Philip, all you brothers, the sisters too. You're doing this excellent work. Keep educating these people because, like I said, we get easily distracted. And if we aren't the people saying plain and simple, no, you know what? If you've got money for all these other things, you better start fixing these simple things because water is an element of life. If you can't get these things fixed here, then guess what? You shouldn't give one penny to anyone outside this country.
Yeah, I mean, you want to send $100 billion on the other side of the world, and you could fix the stuff that you were just talking about here for 2% or 3% of that. How in the hell is it that that's not a priority? That's because it's a race war. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 910. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you if you speak. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Asha Mwamba. I'm calling from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Okay, Asha from Fayetteville, and what is on your mind?
Well, I was told to call in, so I'm calling in.
Okay, then let's not play dumb. You know why you were told to call in then.
I think some of your people in the chat and others are perturbed, I guess, with the fact that I had mentioned something about Minister Farrakhan. and they didn't like what I had to say.
Now she's playing all dumb, by the way. You got to understand something. If a person is in the right, they don't run from their words. They just go ahead and get straight to them. And the fact that you're sitting up here milling around, that's your first clue that you're probably wrong in your positions, morally wrong and intellectually dishonest, that you will not stand by your words. You have yet to say what it was that you said that got you required to call in. That's called cowardice. And if you're a coward from your own words, then you probably shouldn't have said them.
I'm not a coward from my own words.
And yet you haven't said what you said yet. You're still stalling and hemming around. Why don't you tell everyone what you said?
I'm not exactly sure which particular comment I made that they want me to call in about, except the fact, I guess, one of my comments was that I was baffled that so many Black Americans are still following Farrakhan, who is of Caribbean descent. And I used to be a Pan-Africanist, and that's why I changed my name to Asha
What does that have to do with tonight's program?
No, you all were talking about Farrakhan.
Yes, ma'am. So second try. And what did your comments have to do with tonight's program? Second try.
I was just commenting on Farrakhan and my opinion about a lot of what he does is a distraction. It's not just for Black people, Black Americans.
Okay, and
so
what does that, how does that affect or change what we were discussing tonight?
I don't see how it changes anything. I was just commenting.
Then why were you if what you were saying was irrelevant, then why were you talking?
Because everyone else was chatting.
But nobody asked you. No one asked you to be the authority on what we were saying about Farrakhan tonight. Nobody asked you to chastise anyone. Nobody nominated you to do that.
I never said I was the authority.
Nobody asked your opinion. Nobody asked you to volunteer your viewpoint. And you just admitted that your viewpoint was
in the chat.
But you just admitted that your viewpoint was irrelevant. Well, no one asked you to volunteer an irrelevant viewpoint. No one did that.
No, I didn't say mine was irrelevant. You said it was irrelevant.
No, I asked you what did it matter, and you said it didn't. Your viewpoint is irrelevant. Minister Farrakhan's Caribbean descent is relevant. Why?
Because I'm a Black American. And I want to follow Black American.
And tell me the inaccuracy or the error that you've seen in what we discussed with Minister Farrakhan tonight.
Well, for one thing, he is leading Black Americans into Scientology. And I just had a problem with it, and I just voiced it, and then I started getting attacked, I guess. But okay, here we go.
You have entered the dimension of old niggas, of new internet service, and little old ladies, of Metamucil and mobile madness. Welcome to the old nigga zone.
Okay, I guess I'll have to start pulling back my support because
listen to me very, very carefully. If you think that Jason Black is the least bit worried about your 5 green stamps a month, I no offense, but it doesn't bother me. Go buy yourself some cat food or something. If you think that somehow was going to threaten me or bother me, no, you need to eat it or bathe in it. But I'm just giving you my opinion. If you think pulling back your support, ma'am, the only support that you need is Depends undergarments, okay? I'm not worried about your 3 little old pennies that you give here, okay? Trust me, that doesn't bother me. The bottom line is Minister Mr. Farrakhan's Caribbean descent has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that we're talking about Israel tonight. If you've got some bone with that, that's a separate topic. Minister Farrakhan and Scientology. Minister Farrakhan is not pushing Scientology on anybody. And furthermore, I don't consider that to be any worse than what you see happening in the Christian churches on Sunday. It's the equivalent.
True.
And I don't
either.
look to any man for my authority about what religious belief to have. So if that bothers you, then
Nor
that's going to
do
be
I.
a personal. Okay, obviously the fact that you will have see as necessary to say something about it means that it does bother you. It bothers you a lot. Meanwhile, everybody else out here is not concerned about it. Religion is irrelevant. You can actually have any religion that you want to. Islam, Scientology, Christianity, Transcendental Meditationism. You can have whatever you want to. And when you're done with your religious belief, I have
don't
only
follow
one
religion.
question. Now, what are we going to do about white supremacy? That's the only thing I'm concerned about. Your religion is
Me
irrelevant. Ma'am, your religion's irrelevant to me. And if he were pushing Scientology, that's irrelevant to
follow
me
religion.
too. That's irrelevant. The only question, it doesn't matter whether he's pushing Scientology. That's why your statement was irrelevant. It only matters his position on white supremacy. Now, that is relevant. What is Minister Louis Farrakhan's position on white supremacy?
You say what?
What is Minister Louis Farrakhan's position on white supremacy?
I don't know what his position on white supremacy is. I hear him talking about Jews more than anything.
Ma'am, get your lying old decrepit ass off my phone. Now, there are some things I will accept, but there are others I absolutely will not have. Some dope-smoking, drugged-out, wannabe, Afeni Shakur-looking heifer jumping on my phone lying. I have had my differences with Mr. Farrakhan, and I do have things I disagree about. But you will not sit on this phone for a man who has been stomping in the streets for 9 decades and lie on him. You will not do that. Now, that you will not be allowed to do. I will not have you come in here and lie your old little Miss Bitty ass off about this man. You can disagree with whatever you want to, but when you have to resort to lying, I don't know what his position is. That's strange. Minister Louis Farrakhan has become a metaphor in the white racist world. In the white supremacist world, he's a metaphor for anti-white supremacy. So for you to sit your Jolly Green Rancher built ass sitting up here, what you need to do is go get some Polident and get those dentures cleaned. This is the problem with them old niggas. You can have whatever differences you want to about Minister Farrakhan, but his track record against white supremacy is platinum plated. You can have whatever differences you want with other things, but don't sit up here and try to mischaracterize that because you ain't got a leg to stand on. And I do mean that literally. The arthritis probably got you on a peg leg now, and you sit in our chat room as if the rest of us are looking to follow you. By the way, that's the other problem. You're just jealous, like the rest of us are looking to follow you. Like the rest of us are sitting around trying to figure out what you think. Ooh, did y'all hear what Ashwa had to say? You know, that's the real, Jason is cool and everything, but you know, Asha, she has something to say too. I want to hear what that is. Really? Like all of us are sitting around waiting for you to tell us what's going on. We were all, man, you know, Louis Farrakhan, he don't really know what he talking about. We need to listen to Asha, what we need to do. That's what we need to do. Always some old folks here, nobody listening to them. He's from the Caribbean. Okay, you figured that out all on your own. By the way, what's this position on white supremacy? I don't see how that's relevant unless you can show this position on white supremacy we would disagree with. Oh, we're on the same page there? I'm good. I'm good. As long as I don't give a damn where folk come from, as long as they're on code. The reason why we've made lineage an issue is for the folks who are not on code. Then you got some old dope smoking biddy wants to call it, you know, very kind of, I don't know why folks are still listening to him. They're listening to him because he's actually getting some work done, something you don't know nothing about. That's the whole issue there. You got a bunch of old folks out there who never got nothing done. They see somebody who actually did, and then they want to sit there and take pot shots at them as if you've got legitimacy. Like we was all sitting around waiting for your Golden Girls built self to sit up here and tell us what to think. Ooh, he pushing Scientology. Minister Farrakhan is filing a lawsuit. He didn't say a doggone word about Scientology. Not a syllable. Meanwhile, she's sitting in our chat room here, smelling like Preparation H and failure. I'm going to lecture all the rest of us about being from the Caribbean. And didn't even have the decency to acknowledge the man's work, knowing damn well this man has become a metaphor for anti-white supremacy. Go ask Jared Taylor and Richard Spencer. I've talked to both of them. You talk about Jared Taylor and Richard Spencer. I've talked to them. And Minister Farrakhan strikes fear into the hearts of them all. Meanwhile, you sitting in my chat room, you're not striking fear, you're striking cowardice. Caller from area code 812. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Sean from Indianapolis.
Sean from Indianapolis. What's on your mind?
First of all, that was very entertaining, that woman. Second of all, congratulations to Minister Farrakhan, and I hope that goes quickly for him. And third, I've been paying attention to the Palestinian and Israel conflict closely, because we all know that American police are sent over there to be trained, and then they learn those brutal, oppressive tactics to be placed on black people here. So I think we all need to be paying attention to that, because they're going to be using them drones, and eventually, as things get worse, as the dollar crashes and things get worse for black people because we're not getting reparations, we're going to become a lot more hostile naturally, and they are going to employ these military drones on us, and it's going to be just like what we see in Palestine, these buildings being exploded because it may have hostile, black people in it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 248. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is D from Detroit.
D from Detroit. What's on your mind?
I was just thinking, Jason, that a good point, that also the reason why we should keep an eye on these conflicts internationally is because a lot of, if we look at the military, it's a big portion of it is black. And a lot of our soldiers, people are getting sent to die in these conflicts for America, and selling in these wars, and the immigrants from these countries get sent here into our neighborhoods and I just thought that was a good point. I don't know if you can expound on that.
Well, I mean, certainly whenever they talk about going to war, it's not Joe Biden's kids. Hunter's going to be at home, looking for hookers, heroin, and, harassment. So that's what he'll be doing. So, of course, in these situations, that's what they look for. They're not going to round up the illegals and make them go fight for their citizenship. They're going to be too busy trying to make them be housekeepers in the Bronx. Housekeepers in Manhattan and Brooklyn. So absolutely, you're correct when they put boots on the ground for that kind of thing. Although in this case here, they just want to go the good old-fashioned war profiteering. Let's just send bombs and take the parts of the national budget and give it to white corporations to go send bombs over there and to go pay them to make more bombs to sit in warehouses here to not be used. Our stockpiles of weapons are so useless that we can give them away like Halloween candy to the Ukraine and Israel. And then you're going to take money that should be rebuilding our infrastructure and go make more bombs so they can go sit in warehouses that you'll go send them off somewhere else in 20 years for rinse and repeat. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 267. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How are you? This is Tammy calling from PA.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, I don't know if you are tongue kissing your phone or whatever. Can you hold it where you can be heard?
Sorry. This is Tammy calling from Williamsport, PA. I just want to say this is a great broadcast. I just want to remind people how racist the Israelis are towards black people over there in Israel. There have been few riots where they have attacked black people openly, and I have seen footage of the some of these people. They behave like animals. There was a report where they stabbed a black infant in his head, and they don't look out there. And I forewarn people, look, what these people, what you're going to see here is it's going to get worse for us because a lot of the tactics that they use over there on.
Okay, y'all. I don't know what's going on with Timmy. It sounds like she is making sweet, succulent honey love to her phone, slobbing it down. So I'm going to let her just get back to doing what she was doing. Caller from area code 707. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Would you suck dick for reparations? Yeah.
Too late for that, Leopold. You should have been a little smarter. Caller from area code 984. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Maurice. I'm from Durham, North Carolina.
All right, Maurice from Durham. What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind is every week you turn up, you look up, and people who cannot vote, people who are not citizens, are getting more benefits and resources over foundational Black Americans. And we just got to be aware of that and hold our vote. Stop voting for these politicians on both sides who ignore us. And as far as the situation going on overseas, I'm not in it. I'm focused on what's going on in America with foundational Black Americans, and that's all I got to say. B1.
Thank you very much for giving the call tonight. B1 as always. Let me get caller from area code 617. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Marquis from Boston.
All right, Marquis from Boston. What's on your mind?
Jason, great show. I was wondering what your thoughts were on this. Fantastic thoughts. So there was a host a long time ago, not a host, a guest on Fox News, and they had asked her who's civil rights for, and she was very clear. She said it was meant for so-called African Americans. Now, what's interesting is, what do you think about the 14th Amendment? Because it doesn't, even though it was meant for us, moving forward, we should put so-called, whatever they call us, or whatever we agree to call ourselves at the time, we should put out that name in there, like for Black people or for African Americans, instead of just making it general. What do you think? Because you have all these people coming in.
Keep something in mind here. We have yet to have the Constitution ever enforced for us. The Constitution has only been used to be enforced against us, but what it hasn't been done is used to be enforced for us. We are the only group of people who have to go to court and have whole new laws made in order to remind people that, by the way, they're not enforcing the constitutional rights that we already have. So even to the extent that you do codify us in the Constitution, it doesn't mean anything if you don't enforce it. It's not a law if no one is enforcing that law. It's not a law. So it's not a rule. It's not an amendment. It isn't anything if it's written down but not enforced. So there's the element that has always been missing. So whether you're talking about 13, 14, 15, 13th Amendment has been enforced against us. The very amendment that was supposed to outlaw slavery does exactly the opposite. So that's one that it was supposed to be enforced for us. It's been used to be enforced against us. Then you go to the 14th, 15th Amendments. Well, they're supposed to be enforced for us, and then they use it with other people. Now it's being enforced against you. So which basically is disregarding those amendments altogether. You can't really enforce things against us without disregarding them. So the real thing is, okay, what do you do when you have a corrupt, criminalized government that is utilizing laws against you, even when the laws say the exact opposite? I'm white and I say so. I say this law is against you. So it's against you. That's what we're up against. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Shout out to Shawnee in the super chat. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight. We appreciate that. I want us to be cognizant and I want us to be aware of the circumstances on the ground. I'm not telling anybody to go out there and go cape for anything, but what I am saying is be cognizant, be aware, and recognize that our reparations money, that every time we turn around, I'm here to remind you that folks keep telling us there's no money for reparations. We don't have any money for reparations. We can't get any. And every time you turn around, the government is dumping truckloads of money off. Truckloads of money off for everyone except us. But they're going to be here next year telling us what they've done for us, allegedly. They're going to come back next year and tell you that this 106, Roland Martin is going to come back next year and tell you that this $105 billion for Ukraine and Israel is actually benefiting us. Just understand that. Roland Martin is going to come back and tell you that the Asian hate crime bill, that was actually a bill for us. That was a law for us. That's what he's going to tell you. Kamala Harris and friends are going to tell you that the LGBT rights bill, that's for us. Biden is going to come back and tell you that $13 billion for illegal aliens, well, that helps black people. Don't you see that helps black people too? That's what they're going to tell us. And that's why I'm reminding you all now, not so that we just talk about Ukraine and Israel, but so you see that, by the way, there's been a lot of anti-black development, a whole lot of anti-black behaviors from these very nations, from these very groups, and they're going to get $100 billion of support as a result. That's how serious that is. $100 billion of support. Not beforehand, but after. Not beforehand, but after. In the chat room, Tasco, the CEO, why don't you go ahead and give us a call? There's a full moon out somewhere. We're going to get Tasco, the CEO. Can't wait to see what you're CEO of, but we're going to have Tasco, the CEO, give us a call so that we may be treated to their epic wisdom. We certainly want to make sure they have an opportunity to do that. So my mods, go ahead and get their information. They got 2 minutes to go ahead and give us a call up here. No, we're going to have them give us an opportunity here to explain to all of us the error of our ways here, to help us to understand exactly what it is that we're not getting. So certainly that's certainly what we need to have there. We need to have that explained to us. So I need CEO Tasco to go ahead and give us a call and explain that. Caller made a very good point here. I mean, very, very good point that, by the way, that $100 billion that is coming up out of nowhere, you could fix a whole lot of basic things for that. You could fix a whole lot of basic things that they're telling us we don't have. You can fix a whole lot of those while they're telling us we don't have that. Been talking about Flint, Michigan now for almost a decade. The situation has never been fixed, never been resolved. I'll be damned. $13 billion for illegal aliens while telling us what you don't have. $13 billion for illegal aliens. Meanwhile, you got dirty water and dirty air where black folk are across America. This is what a race war looks like. This is what a race war looks like. By the way, for Tasco, you have 60 more seconds. If Tasco is not on the line within the next 60 seconds, then they will be given a permanent vacation. No, you can put your ramen noodles back up. We're not that busy. Tasco has 60 seconds to be on the line. By the way, what is Tasco's? Tasco is not given their area code. So don't worry, Tasco will have a permanent vacation here in just a few moments. We don't play that, so Tasco knows where they need to be. No, your hands were free enough to be typing in the chat room. Don't tell me about cooking dinner. You had both hands free enough to type in the chat room. You got them free enough now. Your hands were free enough then. Go ahead and get their information here. Tasco's about to take a permanent vacation. Okay, for my mods, let's go ahead and get ready to remove them since everybody sits up here and acts like they got a lot to say and they sit up here and be disruptive right up until I tell them, by the way, call up. Let's go ahead and hear that. Then all of a sudden it gets quiet. All of a sudden they get real quiet. Ooh, I didn't know you were going to call and say something right here. Let me tell you about Lewis. Let me tell you about Mr. Farrakhan, him and Scientology. Hold on a minute, I got some Alpo cooking on the stove. I didn't know Jason was going to call me up. Okay, Tasco has had their opportunity. They have decided they're not going to call in, so my mods need to go ahead and see to their permanent retirement here. Caller from area code 347, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good evening.
What is your name and where are you calling from?
Anita from the Bronx.
Okay, Anita from the Bronx, what's on your mind?
Good evening, sir. I'm sorry about the interruption with the sound. I just want to say that I can't articulate myself the way a lot of your callers do, but whenever I hear about these things, I automatically assume that I need to prepare in form of costs going up. As soon as they announce some kind of conflict, everything goes up exorbitantly, whether it be your food, your gas, your daily things. So I have 2 adult daughters, and I'm telling them, don't shop, buy what you need, buy unperishable foods and things like that. We have to prepare because they're going to try to starve us out. They're gonna make us grovel for them, or at least that's what they think. But if we're aware of all these things that we're doing, I think it would be best that we also look for that as well.
Caller area code 917, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Folks, the full moon is out. Caller from area code 206, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, good evening. This is Agnes, and I'm calling from Seattle, Washington.
Agnes from Seattle, what's on your mind?
Hi, I agree with Minister Farrakhan and what he's doing and going after and going in on the ADL. The reason for being is I stand with him and his view on calling out white supremacy for what it is and how it is hurting us. And he's making a very valuable point by saying that ADL is silencing critics and going against everyone's freedom of expression. And I'm glad he's taken them to task on the very corrupt ideas and using white supremacy and hiding it behind ADL. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, lawsuits got the Ku Klux Klan effectively shut down, so maybe Minister Farrakhan has the same idea. Caller from area code 347, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Doug, and I'm calling from Harlem.
All right, Doug from Harlem, what's on your mind?
I'm glad you're doing what you're doing on the show, but I just wanted to point out that you're absolutely right. People, we need to get smarter, not all that little punk ass worrying about what they're going to be doing to us. So we've been here for 400 years, and they haven't been able to do anything to us. Stop punking up. And what we need to look at is what these mealy-mouthed politicians are doing, which is nothing. Here in New York City, the New York City Housing Authority has more people than the state of Wyoming, and not one person on their home. Not one. And here you got Officer Adams running shit, and he ain't doing nothing to help anybody. He's sitting over $102 billion budget, and he ain't doing nothing for black people. And that's going across the country. We need to start looking at the economics and start not voting for these bums who ain't doing nothing for us, because they ain't going to do nothing. I'm telling you straight out right now, none of them are going to do nothing for us. Whatever we want, we got to go get it ourselves. My man, keep up the good work, baby.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 917. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Darryl. I'm from Yonkers.
All right, Darryl from Yonkers. What's on your mind?
I have one thing that no one talks about. Is it true right before this war started, what is it, the Prime Minister, wasn't he on trial within his own Israel? Is that true?
Bibi Netanyahu, but then again, he's a very controversial figure even within Israel. So the way their government is set up, it's real. You get in as prime minister, and next thing you know, you spend the next 4 years trying to fight indictments and everything else. So you're correct, but then again, that for the last 20 years, that's pretty much marked his tenure in office. He gets elected, and then they're always trying to put him in jail and get him out or something. So that's par for the course for him. So nothing unusual there.
Okay, so I land my plane. Thank you very much. You're doing an outstanding job.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Yeah, the way their government works, it's not like in America where you got to do a wag the dog. I mean, their government's just real bad. It's like the Republicans in Congress right now. You get elected prime minister, they go straight to work trying to put you in jail and everything else. So it's kind of weird. It really is. But folks, you don't have to worry about where our reparations money is. You don't have to worry about where it is. Don't worry. This government that can't afford that, why your reparations money is going somewhere else. I want to thank Najee, Mr. Wilborn, and everyone else who has contributed toward tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat, Venmo. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified, Race War, all available on DVD and streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to tonight's program. Thank you for watching live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.